Rufus did a great job too.
Yeah. You know what, I mean, he's going to steal the show anyway.
Stuffed bears do that.
Anytime you bring a stuffed animal with you anywhere.
That's why I keep NIROPE.
Yeah, I know. We have the Comic-Con version of it.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Welcome to Carpooling with Ben, folks. It's one of those things that, you know, we don't talk about it often enough, but type 1 juvenile diabetes is really something that cramps the lifestyle of a child, and it'd be awesome if we could figure out a cure and a way for these young folks to beat it, or just, I don't know, all the science and stuff. People who are much smarter, but those people need the funding, and a great way to do that is to participate in one of their many fundraisers and walks. Brian Colton, a board member of the JDRF, is here, and for the first time, ladies and gentlemen, Rufus has joined us.
Rufus has joined us.
In the car, live. We will subtitle everything Rufus says.
Okay.
Just so
That's important, because the translation gets tough sometimes.
Yeah. I've only got 2 microphones. I will contact a translator for Rufus there.
There you go.
So Brian, thanks for joining me.
Thanks for giving me a ride.
Well,
I was looking to get one today.
Well, that's what I'm here for. You know, it's an Uber or Lyft with dignity.
There you go.
But and a lot of cameras. Safety first, though, folks.
Safety first.
Talk to me, just for those who may not understand, what is type 1 juvenile diabetes, and what's your connection with the whole situation?
Type 1 diabetes is an autoimmune disease. So a lot of times people think that it's directly related to type 2 diabetes. It is not. It is an autoimmune disease where basically your body mistakenly attacks the cells that produce insulin in your pancreas. Okay. So it makes it so that those beta cells are null and void and do not produce any insulin. So for anybody that has type 1 diabetes to be able to survive, because if your blood sugar goes too high, you would ultimately die, for a long period of time, of course. But
sure.
For anybody to survive with type 1 diabetes, they have to get insulin either through shots or through some sort of a pump device. Every day is a roller coaster.
Sure.
Ultimately, there are 1.25 million people in the United States living with type 1 diabetes. Of those, about 250,000 are kids or young adults that are under the age of 20. Wow. My connection to it is that my son Jackson, who's 11 and a half now, was diagnosed when he was 6.5 years old.
What was that like?
It was a swift kick to the gut, is the best way of explaining
Sure.
it. We had noticed over the course of a few days that he had excessive thirst and excessive urination. He was waking up probably about 6 to 10 times a night where he would have to go to the bathroom. Since the beta cells are not producing insulin, the insulin is not at that point breaking down the carbohydrates in your body to produce energy. Okay. So what happened to him is that his blood sugar went too high, and your body starts flushing out almost everything, and you're urinating all the time because your body's just trying to get those carbs out of your body, and it's the way that your body thinks that it's supposed to do it.
Wow.
So what usually happens is that there's excessive thirst, excessive urination. There's usually body weight loss. There's a number of different things that start triggering it. And with Jackson, it was the excessive thirst and excessive urination. I was putting him to bed for the umpteenth time in a given night. And, as parents, one of the many things we failed on was, self-soothing of our kids to go to bed at night. So we have to help them get to bed. And I was snuggled up on the bed next to him, and we're talking, and he goes, "Daddy," he's like, "is it morning yet?" And I said, "No." And I said, it was like midnight at the time. I said, "It's not morning yet." And he goes, "Oh, I wish it was morning." He's like, "I'm so thirsty." Because when he started having excessive thirst and excessive urination, we said, okay, the way we stop that is by not having him drink so much.
Right, sure.
Google in 2013, as it is in 2018, type in something and you get your answer right away. So we typed it in, and I ended up seeing that type 1 diabetes is the first thing that comes up for excessive thirst and excessive urination. Yeah. He had his first day of first grade that Monday. That Tuesday, we dropped off a urine specimen to the pediatrician's office, and by the afternoon on that Tuesday, we got a phone call from the pediatrician's office that he needed to come in immediately and have a test done. He had another urine test done. We ended up bringing him over to Hasbro Children's Hospital.
Great place, great hospital.
They do an amazing job there, and you basically spend 2 full days in diabetes boot camp, and it is educators and doctors and nurses and psychologists and everybody that they can imagine that are coming into your room over and over and over and explaining to you what life's going to be like. And it completely changes your life. It changes the child's life, it changes the family's life, it changes the other siblings' lives.
Sure.
It's a swift kick to the gut, but your normal at that point changes and it becomes a new normal. You know, your job as a parent is to keep your kids happy and healthy. Sure. So it just makes my job a little bit more complicated.
Yeah. One other thing, you know, you and I have known each other for a number of years now, and one of the things that, you know, when we get together, you're always looking at your watch. You're looking at your watch because the wearables are quite a dominant thing there, and you get updates on a regular basis.
Yeah, this is actually Jackson's blood sugar on my watch.
Wow.
And that's a big thing with the JDRF. 80 cents of every dollar ends up going to research, or goes to the mission overall.
Sure.
Of that money that goes to the mission, there's been $2 billion that has gone towards trying to treat, cure, and make lives easier for those that have type 1 diabetes.
That's a great way of it.
And this is, I mean, 10 years ago, he wouldn't have been able to walk around with the devices that he has. I mean, he'd be able to have a pump, but the pump would have a tube on it. It would be a little clunky for him. He'd be sticking it in his pocket.
Sure. Well, he was 6, 7, 8-year-old boy. I mean, it's
well. I mean,
there's a reason why they don't walk around with, you know, legal documents or a license, or, you know,
I don't
because
trust,
they're kids. Not just boys, they're kids.
I barely trust him to walk around with himself most of the time. But you know, 10 years ago, we could have never thought about the idea of a CGM, which is a continuous glucose monitor, in which the device stays implanted in him for a week. The new ones actually are 10 days FDA approved.
Wow.
And it stays in his body, and it's a little tiny needle that's almost the size of like an eyelash, and it goes right underneath the skin, and it checks his blood sugar every 5 minutes. So, and then it sends that data, as long as he's got a Wi-Fi or a cell phone connection, it sends that data to the cloud, and then it comes to my wife, Melissa, and I, and we end up getting the information, and it comes right to our watches. So we see, and it shows trends too. It shows if something's going up, if something's going down, if something's staying the same.
Tracking the history.
Yeah, and you're able to see the motion of the trend, and you're able to, you know, plot accordingly.
Sure.
Because it's a constant battle. I mean, he's got a pump also. He's got an Omnipod. The pump that he has is a tubeless pump, which for an 11-year-old that is 5'7" and has a size 11.5 shoe and loves playing basketball, that's a help. Excellent. It is
very convenient.
It is a big help to have a pump that does not have any tubes and that just goes attached to the back of his arm or something.
That's great. We're, you know, happy that he's healthy, and, you know, happy that you were able to find out and catch it so early. I have a family member who didn't catch it until they were almost 20.
Wow.
So it was, you know, it was an eye-opener at that point as well. So,
I mean, it really can. You can get type 1 diabetes at almost any time.
Wow.
And it's expected that by the year 2050, there are going to be, instead of that 1.25 million in the U.S. living with type 1 diabetes, there are going to be over 5 million people in the U.S. living with type 1 diabetes.
Well, we need to do some events. We need to do some great stuff to help raise funds so we can fund the research. We can hopefully one day find the cure, or find a way to better combat it, or get it out there, so that, you know, we're making it possible so these kids and young adults and people just live in a much more comfortable and healthy lifestyle. So let's do something.
Yeah.
What do you want to do? You gonna go walking?
Yeah.
Well, not right now. We're in the car.
We're in the car.
We're not walking.
And
right
I don't
now.
want you to just leave me here. I mean, I kind of was hitching a ride with you today.
It's the lovely backwoods of northern Rhode Island.
Yeah, there you go.
But there's a series of events coming up. You're on the board for JDRF.
Yes, I'm on the board for JDRF New England.
Okay.
I am also the corporate walk chair for the Rhode Island Walk.
Right. We got Rhode Island Walk coming up in October.
Yep.
Before that, we have Boston and another location.
We got Boston on Saturday, September 29th.
Okay.
So that is actually at the Hat Shell. which is a beautiful place for a walk.
Sure.
All the walks are rain or shine, by the way.
Bring an umbrella, people.
Bring an umbrella. We've had to do that in the past, especially in Boston.
BYOP. Bring your own poncho.
Exactly.
So that's our first walk. The second walk is?
Sunday, September 30th.
Okay.
That walk is actually in Lancaster, Mass. That's the Central Massachusetts walk. And then the final walk, which is closest to my heart, is the walk on October 14th at Rocky Hill School. That is the Rhode Island walk.
Okay.
This will be the 6th year that we are participating in the walk as a family. We have a team called Team Super Jack, which is exactly named.
Super Jack. Do you have a theme song yet?
We don't have a theme song. We have an incredibly...
Rufus work on a theme song.
Rufus will work on a theme song. We have an incredibly awesome t-shirt design that was redesigned this year by Jackson with the amazing help of Cool Air Creations.
Nice.
Another Northern Rhode Island institute.
Good people. Good people over there at Cool Air.
They are. And, you know, we're really excited about the new design, but it's, you know, the whole Super Jack thing came about because when Jackson was originally at Hasbro, and we're just trying to get our heads wrapped around everything. You know, one of the things that they keep pounding home is that you can live your life exactly the way you lived it before. It's just a little bit more complicated, but you shouldn't stop doing what you're doing.
Yeah.
I mean, this will make sense to you. The first night we got out of the hospital, we had gotten out of the hospital in the afternoon. We had tickets to the Paw Sox that night for a suite with fireworks.
Of course.
And we were very...
Must have been a Saturday night.
Must have been. And we were very excited about it, but we were like, what do we do now? We have to do shots, we have to do testing, we have to do all sorts of stuff. And I mean, just in 1 year, I calculated this out one time, just in 1 year, type 1 diabetic, if they're on shots and if they're doing finger sticks, if they don't have CGMs, they don't have pumps, you're talking about over 3,000 finger sticks to check your blood sugar, and you're talking about over 1,500 shots that are injections of insulin.
That's a lot.
So
a lot to bring out and to take on. No wonder why you needed boot camp.
Yeah.
You know, to bring you up to speed.
And that's part of the reason. One of the main parts of the JDRF is outreach, and that's why I brought Rufus along. When a new family is diagnosed and, you know, they're in that period of time where they're just, you know, swamped and feeling like they're drowning, we send trained volunteers who are, you know, people that are parts of families that are living with type 1 diabetes out to the family's home, and we bring something that we call the Bag of Hope. And the Bag of Hope has all sorts of diabetes sort of toolbox of things that you can have in there that'll help out, and it's research and it's knowledge and it's information and it's all sorts of things that you want to have that seem incredibly overwhelming. But one of my favorite parts is we bring out Rufus. And all the kids that are first diagnosed get Rufus. And if you notice, Rufus has these cool little pads.
Yep.
And what they are is they are places on Rufus's body as a type 1 diabetic that he can actually do finger sticks or get injections. So the kid can actually mess around and practice with Rufus and kind of bring Rufus along in the process.
That's fantastic.
Makes things a little bit easier.
Yeah. Well, Rufus has done a great job here in the car, and
he's done a terrific job.
Yeah, he's excellent. Brian, those dates again?
September 29th in Boston, September 30th in Lancaster, and the October 14th walk, which is the Rhode Island walk in Rocky Hill.
It's going to be a great segment of events, folks. Head on over to their website, head on over to their Facebook page, subscribe, follow, learn more about it. As always, if you think your child may have some symptoms, contact your pediatrician immediately.
Yes, that's the best thing to do.
Don't wait, don't delay. Get a hold of them, and you know.
All you need is a little urine specimen to check it, and then there's usually a follow-up blood test. But you know, at the end of the day, like you and I, with our blood sugar, you know, it'll probably be between 80 and 100 at any given time. Anybody with type 1 diabetes, it can go as low. We have seen scary lows as low as like 28.
That's very dangerous.
Anytime you get under 40, it could seriously affect brain function.
Sure.
And then we've seen highs as high as 650. So you see unbelievable numbers, but it's a roller coaster. You know, love will always be stronger than the highs and lows.
There you go.
That's the motto in the house. So
I like that. Brian, sir, thank you. Rufus, thank you, sir. Rufus, ladies and gentlemen. Folks, go follow along, and if you want to get involved, hit up Team Super Jack.
Team Super Jack. Go to walk.jdrf.org.